Hey everyone, in this video, I'll show how you can make 2D platformer controller with animations like this. As always, project file link is in description, so feel free to download and use it. And with that said, let's get started. Okay, so first we'll create a square sprite and drag it on the hierarchy to create a game object, and I will rename this player. Again, create a game object with a square sprite and rename it ground. Now select both player and ground object and add box collider 2D. Select the player game object and add rigid body 2D. Next, create a C# script called player movement and open it up. Now we will create two float variable called move speed and jump force, and also create a rigid body 2D variable. We will use this variable called movex to get input. Now create a method called movement. I'll set movex is equal to input.getAxis raw horizontal. This will give the input on horizontal axis, for example. If we press right arrow key, it will give 1 value, and for left arrow key it will be -1. Now we can move our player by changing the velocity. We just want to move on x-axis, so I'll pass rb.velocity.y on the second parameter. Now let's create the jump method also. In this statement, we are gonna check if the player hits the space key. Now let's change rigid body velocity in the up direction. So rb.velocity equal to transform.up multiplied by jump force. Also, let's assign the move speed value to something like 400 and jump force to 200. We can test this out now, so save this and go back to Unity. Attach the player movement script to the player game object. Assign the rigid body 2D to the script and hit play. As you can see, we can now move around and also jump, but there is a problem. If you notice, our player is able to jump in mid-air, so let's fix that. Select the ground object and click on add tag and hit the plus icon and create ground tag. Select the ground game object and change its tag to ground. Now open up the player movement script and create a new boolean variable called as grounded. Create an event called on collision enter 2D. This method checks if we are collided with some object or not. Create a statement and we are going to check if the collided object have ground tag on it. If does, we can set is grounded to true. And in the jump method, a statement will also check for is grounded. If it's true, then only we can jump. And inside the if statement, set is grounded to false. That means when we jump we are not on the ground. Now go back to Unity and let's check if it's working or not. As you can see, now we are not able to jump in midair, but it's kinda boring without any animation, so let's add that. I have imported this assets, you can download this from the description. Now go to idle folder and select all sprites and change the filter mode from linear to point no filter. If you don't, this your sprite will not look sharp and crispy, it will be blurry. Do this for the rest of the animation sprites. Now we can change our player sprite, so select the player game object and change sprite from sprite rendered to animation idle sprite. Also change the color back to the white. Right now the player looks very tiny. To fix this, select all the animation sprites and change pixels per unit value to 16 and hit apply. Do this for the rest of the animation sprites. Now we can start with the animation process. So select all idle sprite and drag it on the player game object. This will open up a window to save the animation file. I'll create a separate folder for this animation and save it there. If we now hit play, we can see that the idle animation is playing, but our player is sinking in the ground, so let's fix that. Select the player game object and click on edit box collider 2D. Now change the size of the collider. Let's check it out. Now our player is standing perfectly on the ground. Now our player is not changing direction. We will fix that later. For now, so let's add some more animation. After that, open the animator window. If you are not able to see this window, go to Window, Animation, Animator. It will open the animator window. Here we have 3 animations: idle, run, and jump. Now we need to make transition between these animations. So right click on idle animation and hit transition, then click on run animation. Do this for the rest of the animation until it looks something like this. Now select a transition, and disable has extra time option, open the setting, and disfix duration also. Change transition duration to 0. Do this for all the transition. Now go to parameters tab, and hit the plus icon, choose bool from there. I'll call this jump. Create another bool, and name it run. Select the transition from idle, to jump, and add a condition. Do this for all the animation. You can copy mine. If you want to learn more about Animator, you can watch this video. Open the player movement script, and create animator variable called min. In movement method we need to check if the player is pressing the key or not, so create a statement move axis not equal to 0, then we set animation to run animation. And at the start of the movement method set animation to false, so we don't play the run animation always. Let's add jump animation also. To do that we can set the animation in the if statement when we press key. And stop the jump animation we set the value false in the collision method, that means when we hit the ground. Save it and head back to Unity. Assign the animator component to the script and hit play. As you can see, the animations are working perfectly. But if you notice the player is too slippery, so to fix, create a physics material 2D. And I am going to call this player. Select the material and change friction value to something like 8 or 10, and drag it on the ground game object. Also select the player game object, and enable freeze rotation Z in rigid body 2D component. Okay, looks good now. There's something I forgot, Toto. We need to disable loop animation for jump. So go to your jump animation file where you have saved it and disable loop time. Hit play, and everything is working fine now. Now we can change our player directions. So open the player movement search, and create a new method called flip, and add this method inside the movement method. Create a sprite render variable above. Now inside the flip method make a statement. Here we will check the direction, so when we press the right key move x value will be 1. Inside the statement set sprite.flip x equals to false. And for the left direction move x value will be -1, and set sprite.flip x to true. Save this, and go back to Unity. Assign the sprite render component to the script. Hit the play button, and now our play can change its direction from left to right and right to left. So that's it for today's video. If you like this video, consider subscribing for more, and comment down below if this worked for you or not.